have so many fond memories of waking up on a Saturday morning to the smell of my mom pulling freshly baked cinnamon rolls out of the oven. Now, those were usually from a can, and to be honest, that type of cinnamon roll will always have a special place in my heart. However, I do think that these homemade cinnamon rolls will be just a little bit better. So today we're making cinnamon rolls. Let's get into it. To make our cinnamon roll dough, we're going to add 1 cup of warmed milk, 2 tablespoons of sugar, taken from the total 2/3 cups of sugar needed for this recipe, and 1.5 tablespoons of yeast to the bowl of our stand mixer. Give this a quick mix to combine, and then let the mixture sit for 5 minutes until foamy like you see here. We'll then lock this into our stand mixer with a dough hook attachment. Give it a quick mix, and then add the remainder of the 2/3 cup of sugar, a 1/2 cup of room temperature unsalted butter, which has been cut into smaller pieces, 2 room temperature eggs, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We're going to mix this until the butter is slightly broken up and the other liquids have started to combine. The last ingredient we need to add to our cinnamon roll dough is the flour. To do this, we're going to add a total of 4.5 cups of flour, 1 cup of flour at a time, making sure it's been fully incorporated before adding the next cup. As you're doing this, stop to scrape down the sides of the bowl as needed, but as you add more flour and mix for longer, the dough should come together and pull away from the sides of the bowl. Let it continue to knead on medium-low speed for 5 minutes. After those 5 minutes, the dough should still feel a little soft and tacky and should slowly bounce back when poked with a finger. Transfer the dough to a greased medium-sized bowl, making sure to turn the dough ball so the sides are coated with oil. Cover and let rise for 2 hours or doubled in size. While the dough is rising, we're going to put together our cinnamon sugar filling, which is just a 2/3 cup of packed brown sugar and 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon mixed together in a small bowl. Try to break up any large clumps of brown sugar and then set aside. After 2 hours, our dough has doubled in size, so we're going to punch it down to release the air and then place it on a lightly floured work surface. We're now going to roll this into a 12 by 18 inch rectangle. Like with most doughs that end up as a rectangle at some point, I try to keep it as even as possible and will often stretch out the corners if any get too short or rounded. Next, using an offset spatula, if you have one, spread out a 1/2 cup of softened unsalted butter over the top of the dough. I thought this glob and then spread method worked really well and helped to prevent the dough from tearing. We'll then grab the cinnamon sugar filling and sprinkle that in an even layer all over the butter. I gave the filling a little pat to make sure it was nice and stuck into the butter, and then starting at the long end closest to me, I rolled the dough into a tight log and cut it into 12 even pieces about 1.5 inches thick. You didn't see me do it here, but I did plan out my cuts before just going after it to try and get as even of rolls as possible. Finally, arrange your cinnamon rolls in a greased 13 by 9 inch glass baking dish and let rise until puffed about an hour. We're going to bake our cinnamon rolls at 350 degrees for 25 minutes or until lightly browned. While they bake, we're going to make the cream cheese icing. To a medium-sized bowl, add 4 ounces of bricked cream cheese softened to room temperature. Give this a mix to break it up a little bit, and then add 1 cup of powdered sugar, 1 tablespoon of heavy cream, a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and a pinch of salt. Beat again until everything is smooth and creamy, and then set aside. Again, make sure that your cream cheese is at room temperature, otherwise you'll end up with little lumps instead of a nice smooth satiny icing like you see here. Once your cinnamon rolls are nicely browned, pull them out of the oven and let cool on a wire rack for a few minutes. I did end up tenting these with a little bit of aluminum foil to make sure that the edges didn't burn while the middle still got a little bit more color. While the rolls are still warm, top with the icing, making sure that it gets into all the nooks and crannies so that you get a little bit of icing with every bite. I highly recommend eating at least one of these warm, and then best of luck to you to not eat the entire rest of the pan in one sitting. I've said it before, and I know I will say it again, but my house smells incredible right now. And so let's dig into this. Cheers. So fluffy. The cream cheese frosting just gives a little bit of tang to all of the sweetness going on here, or a just really beautiful bite of cinnamon, sugar, butter, cream cheese, all the good things. Can't think of a better way than to start your day off with a homemade cinnamon roll. Let me know if you make these.